So I'm Larry Hurtubise. I'm from the Drake Institute at The Ohio State University.
Alyssa Hall. I am the Director of Curriculum and Ed Tech at Mayo Clinic College of Medicine and Science. And I will be sharing with you a little bit today about the Community of Inquiry Framework.
I'm Denise Kay. I am at the Medical Education Department in University of Central Florida College of Medicine, and I will be sharing with you about the online learning communities and also the professional learning community or professional learning networks.
One of the reasons that we wanted to share with you today is the theories and the models and the practices was just to sort of get you familiar with some of the pros and cons and strategies. But also as you think about the research that you're going to do, having this theoretical foundation will help you as you sort of move forward, disseminating what you're finding. Our objectives today, we're hoping that you're able to list the 4 models, to discuss the pros and cons, and then identify a promising model that you could use in your context. And the 4 models that we're going to talk about come from our article. I have a link to it there, but it's also on the handout and on the webpage that I shared with you. It's the community of inquiry model, which is involved in a process of empirical or conceptual inquiry into problematic situations. The community of practice model, where a group of people share a common concern and learn as they interact regularly. And then the online collaborative learning, where teams learn together and use information technology as a tool. And then the professional learning community, where educators meet regularly, share expertise, and work collaboratively to improve teaching skills and academic performance of learners. And so basically, we looked at a lot of different virtual models, and this really came out of our experience where we have been in an online learning community and collaborative community for, gosh, Alyssa, Denise, has been over 5 years now?
At least.
Yeah, and really at first, none of us had met face-to-face, and we just collaborated using these online tools. And so then we started this project to sort of think about what it is we were doing and what were the theoretical underpinnings. We chose these 4 because they were really the ones that were evident in the literature in the health professions education. So that's why we chose these 4. What we're going to do today is we're going to have a couple breakout sessions. And so in room 1, Alyssa will be there with the community of inquiry model. And then I will be in room 2 with the community of practice model. And then in session 1, Denise will be in room 3 doing the online collaborative learning. And then in session 2, she will do the professional learning community. So what you need to do is sort of think about which 2 of these models do you want to learn more about, and then choose then which breakout sessions you're going to go, what you're going to do in session 1 and then session 2. And when we're in those sessions, the person facilitating will review the model, discuss some of the benefits and limitations, and then answer how's it used in medical education, and then answer questions. So that was an awesome conversation, and grateful to my co-presenters. What we're going to do now is sort of redo this and allow you to choose a second room to go into. So again, Alyssa will be in room 1 doing the community of inquiry, and I'll be in room 2 doing community of practice, and Denise will be in room 3, but this time she'll be doing the professional learning communities.
Larry's going to fill us in on a few debriefing comments, and really look forward to hearing your reactions and applications. So Larry, I'll turn it over to you.
So basically, just thought we would take a few minutes, and maybe you can put some of these ideas in your chat, but what were the things that you learned in the breakout rooms through this process that sort of inspired you? And maybe what will you do that might inspire others? One of the things that was inspiring to me was that I think it was Kathleen, but she had been in, I think, Alyssa's community of inquiry thing, and then was applying that and sort of synthesizing that with the community of practice model and how those two things sort of go together. So that was very interesting to me how she was picking up on that right away.
I was just wondering, it might be interesting to know if folks in the call or in our meeting here have been a part of a virtual professional network. And if so, which of the models that they participated in today most closely aligned with their experience in that network? And if there was anything in kind of what they were exposed to that might help further shape the productivity of their network or the effectiveness or what the outcomes of their network.
I think one of the things that affects that is if you knew the people before you were online. You know, if you knew the people before and you had a relationship and an understanding or common interest, then when you get into the virtual world, it's easier. Fresh start in the virtual world is much harder.
Yes.
Yeah, so what's interesting about our community was that we did all meet sort of, I think some of us had met face to face and some of us had only met virtually, but at some point we all sort of met at a conference or something. And I think everybody had met at least one other person at a conference before joining. So there was sort of that face-to-face synchronous piece of it.
She does bring up an important point that it's about the relationship and about the connections that you feel. So whoever had the other models about the social presence, I know for our group, humor was something that kind of bound us together, and the balance between being effective and productive with our time, but also being kind of light and being able to make jokes and laugh and share. So it made our time together fun and productive. That was one of the things that served as a kind of a cohesion for us.
I like that Denise example as well, because it was almost some type of quick start like Larry started today with. It kind of brought us all present together in this particular instance, yet it was something that helped us also look at just learning a little bit more about one another. So the quick start that Larry used helped us learn a little bit about where people were at with the communities models. For us, we learned a little bit about one another, and that was very important.
I guess I would just add to that. I'm looking at the chat and I see Christina's name there. She did mention in our community of practice a little bit about social networking, but part of it is celebrating, right? So when somebody in our group publishes something, we will post that in Twitter and we'll tag them and tag the group, or we'll, like things that are happening in Twitter with our group. So we leverage social media to increase our social presence and perhaps even our cognitive presence. So it helps sort of keeping the group engaged over a long period of time with shared experience. So we have about a minute or so left. Are there, Denise, do you have any big ahas? And then I'll go to Alyssa.
I just was wanting to follow up on Christina's comment about the more you kind of interact with people, the more you learn about each other, both kind of directly and indirectly. And that, I think that's the tricky part, as Alyssa mentioned, the kind of quick start. But it's kind of like being at a dinner party where nobody's really engaging, and it's kind of a dead, people are kind of talking, but it's kind of a dead. And then somehow, I don't know, it could be because people have had a glass of wine, who knows? But somehow they stumble on something that gets everybody innovated, and people start sharing ideas and asking questions. And then it kind of morphs into this really fun, meaningful dialogue. And that's the tricky part, is finding that kind of triggering focus and designing the meeting or the agenda so that there's something that gets people engaged and enlivened and vital. so that they're wanting to contribute and excited about contributing.
Thanks, Denise. I'm going to build off of that and share that part of that engagement, I think, is built on that consistency. You show up, people know how you're going to interact in that environment. You've started to create that your identity a little bit. And I think that is also very critical in all of this, is thinking about that rhythm and that what we want to do and finding an easy, I don't want to say easy, a way that we can start with that. So for the example that Larry gave, celebrating, and then take it to the next level. But I really want to, I think my aha, I just loved that those that shared in the chat during the community of inquiry session, really, we want to drive that curiosity in a supportive environment. So really thinking about how do we quickly get that social presence established so that we can start to move to that curiosity and co-creation of knowledge. So I really appreciated those comments. Thank you.
And I guess to build on what Alyssa and Denise are saying, that for me, when you think about some of the problems that we're trying to solve today with diversity and inclusion and isolation and those type of things, that using these strategies that build social presence to sponsor our folks to meet role models from other places that can inspire them, I think will sort of really help them to build that identity as an educator and persist in their careers in a way that's meaningful and fun. So I've really enjoyed being on this panel today and seeing a lot of the Alice's and Christina's in the group and sharing with Denise and Alyssa.
We look forward to connecting with you as a follow-up to this workshop.